quiet, dark, cinematic horror essay. There is an object in the house that seems completely ordinary until we look at it for too long. The mirror. During the day, it is only a tool, a surface on the wall, something we use to fix our hair, wash our face, check whether we still resemble the person who got out of bed. But at night, when the room is darker, when the hallway is quieter, when we accidentally catch ourselves at the edge of our vision, the mirror begins to behave like a door. It does not open anywhere, but it makes us feel as if the other side is looking back. The most uncomfortable thing about mirrors is that they give us evidence of our own existence too directly. We stand there, and another version of us stands opposite. It moves at the same time. It looks with our eyes. It wears our face. But it is not us. It is a copy trapped in a surface, a body without depth, a person who only exists when light and angle allow it. Quiet, dark, cinematic horror essay. In everyday life, we become so used to reflections that we forget how strange they are. There is no other living thing in the room, but there is still a face. There is no second person, but there is still eye contact. A mirror turns the most private thing we own, our face, into a public image. It makes us both the observer and the thing being observed. That is why mirrors in horror are rarely just props. They are machines for destabilizing identity. When a character looks into a mirror, the question is not only, is there a ghost behind them? The deeper question is, if the thing in the mirror does not perfectly match me, then who am I? Candyman understands this very well. The ritual of saying a name into the mirror is frightening, not only because it may summon a ghost. It is frightening because it turns the mirror into a place where speech, belief, and image meet. We say a name into our own face, repeat it, and wait to see whether the world answers. In that moment, the mirror is no longer a reflection. It becomes a witness. Quiet, dark, cinematic horror essay. Oculus goes even further. The film does not only ask whether a mirror is cursed, it asks whether we can trust our senses when we stand near it. The mirror in Oculus does not need to leap out at us. It does something more disturbing. It makes its characters doubt memory, time, the position of objects, and finally, their own perception. When a mirror can corrupt reality, everything in the room becomes unreliable evidence. Black Swan uses mirrors in another way, as the place where the self splits. The reflections in the film do not simply show Nina looking at herself. They show another version of her slipping out of control. Studio mirrors, backstage mirrors, bathroom mirrors. All of them turn the body into a stage where perfection and collapse happen at the same time. Quiet, dark, cinematic horror essay. Us builds a similar fear from a very simple image. The double. Someone who looks like us does not always feel familiar. Sometimes they frighten us more than any monster, because they prove we can be duplicated, replaced, or understood in a distorted way. The mirror is the gentlest version of that fear. It gives us a double every day, then asks us not to think about it too much. In folklore, mirrors are rarely just objects. They hold souls. They open paths for the dead. They must be covered in houses of mourning. They can capture an image, a fate, or an identity. These beliefs differ across cultures, but they share one intuition. A reflected image is not completely harmless. Seeing ourselves from the outside has always carried a trace of danger. Quiet, dark, cinematic horror essay. Perhaps mirrors disturb us because they reveal that the self is less stable than we want to believe. We think we know our own face, but what we know is a familiar version, the mirror version, reversed left to right, seen under repeated lighting. from repeated angles. A candid photograph can shock us because we look unfamiliar. A recording can make our voice and body feel wrong. The mirror is where we practice believing that this image is us. But what happens if that belief cracks? What if the reflection is half a second late? What if the smile lasts longer than we intended? What if the eyes in the mirror keep staring after we know we have looked away? Horror only needs to shift one small detail, because the safety of the mirror depends on perfect synchronization. It must imitate us flawlessly. If it fails once, it is no longer a reflection. It is someone else. Quiet, dark, cinematic horror. Essay. This is why mirror scenes remain effective even after we have seen them hundreds of times. We know a jump scare may be coming. We know something may appear behind the character. But the deeper fear is not always the figure in the background. It is the possibility that the face in front of them will betray them first. Mirrors also make space feel wrong. A small room suddenly has false depth. A hallway appears longer than it is. A figure can appear where no one should be. The mirror duplicates the world, but the copy cannot be entered. We see a place we cannot touch, right beside the place where we stand. In the age of screens, mirror fear has not disappeared. It has changed form. The phone's front camera is a mirror with memory. A video call is a mirror with another person inside it. A filter is a mirror that knows how to lie. An AI face swap is a mirror that can exchange identity. We no longer only look at ourselves. We look at a version that has been corrected, beautified, stretched, aged down, altered, until we begin to forget where the real face ends. Quiet, dark, cinematic horror essay. So mirrors are frightening, not because they belong to the supernatural. They are frightening because they are close to an ordinary truth. We never see ourselves directly. We only see ourselves through something else. Glass, photographs, screens, other people's memories. The self must always pass through a surface, and that surface can be wrong. Perhaps the greatest fear of looking into a mirror at midnight is not seeing a ghost. It is seeing ourselves, and no longer feeling certain that the thing belongs to us. A mirror promises to return the truth, but horror reminds us that sometimes the most terrifying thing is not a lie. It is a truth stared at for too long until it begins to stare back.